Hey, greetings, everyone. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West here, the Executive Director of the American Constitutional Rights Union, the ACRU Action Fund, and the Committee to Support and Defend. Please visit us at theacru.org, theacru.org. That is the American Constitutional Rights Union, as well as the Committee to Support and Defend, CSD.org also. And it is my pleasure and honor to be with you again for another episode of Live Free TV, brought to you by the American Constitutional Rights Union. You know, it's so funny that when you listen to the Marxist left, I think that's the best way to describe them. They're always trying to, I don't know, project who they are against other people, mainly their political opposition. So when you hear them bantering about other folks being fascists, I find it interesting that you have an organization that they say doesn't exist called Antifa, which means anti-fascist, but yet what Antifa goes out and does is to attack those that they don't agree with and they don't feel have a right to speaking freely. As a matter of fact, all this stuff about ICE should not be wearing masks, well, why do they allow a domestic terrorist organization like Antifa to go out there and wear masks and to attack people that are saying things that they don't believe in, they don't agree with, which is, I thought, the basis of fascism. And then, of course, you always hear the left talking about authoritarianism, that the current administration that we have is authoritarian and it is restricting their freedoms and liberties and rights. And it's a threat to, quote unquote, our democracy. First and foremost, they need to understand that America is a constitutional republic. If you don't believe me, read the Constitution. It says so. Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution. The two things that the United States, being the federal government, is supposed to guarantee to every state in the union: number one, a Republican form of government, not Republican Party, but Republican form of government, because America is a constitutional republic, which means we believe in the rule of law and individual rights and freedoms. But I think it's so interesting that the people that are talking about everybody else is a threat to the democracy and our democracy is being attacked and our freedoms are being undermined and they're just a bunch of fascists. And oh, by the way, did you hear about the Southern Poverty Leadership Council, SPLC? It seems that they were using their own donor funds to instigate hate so that they can say they're fighting against hate. That's just rich. But look at what just happened recently in the state of Virginia. You know, that state that gave us our first president, George Washington, gave us our third president, Thomas Jefferson, who is also the author of the Declaration of Independence, which we will celebrate 250 years of its existence. Our fifth president, James Madison, who was also the author of the Constitution. But now, what they are seeking to do in Virginia, something that, quote unquote, the current Governor Abigail Spanberger said she was not going to do, among many other things, they have decided they want to disenfranchise voters. Very simple, very clear. That's really the essence of what they seek to do with this new redistricting map that circumvents the very system that they put in place with a bipartisan independent commission that was supposed to do these things. No, they want to go and just have the recently majority of leftist House and Senate in the Commonwealth of Virginia be the ones to do a map. And it passed narrowly by some 3%. But think about this: 48% of people in the state of Virginia said they did not want to see them go from six Democrat congressional districts and five Republican congressional districts to 10 Democrat congressional districts and just one Republican congressional district. 48% thereof said that's not what they wanted. So, in other words, 48% said no to something that would only say there would be a 10% congressional representation in the House of Representatives for the political opposition to Governor Abigail Spanberger and her party. If there has ever been an instance of voter suppression, and oh, by the way, we see that in many other states that for whatever reason have a leftist majority, You have some states in the Northeast that have zero congressional representation for the political opposition to the left, even though you may have some 30, 35, maybe up to 40% of people that consistently within those states do vote for the left's political opposition. So when you talk about disenfranchising voters, this is a prime example thereof. But this is not something that is new for the left because why do you think the left is so, I don't know, vehement about this whole thing of getting rid of ICE, opening up the borders, of course? And why would you have someone like Hakeem Jeffries, the House Minority Leaders, say that one of the stipulations that they want to see, one of the conditions for, well, funding Department of Homeland Security is to make sure that ICE does not show up at polling locations? Well, Representative Jeffries, why would ICE need to be at polling locations? Because it's very simple. One of the main reasons we see this open borders and the results thereof is about disenfranchising American voters. First and foremost, our census, which the Constitution says is to be taken every 10 years so that we have the proper representation there at our federal, our state, and even local levels for our citizens. Well, the left went and demanded that everyone is counted, to include those people that are here illegally. Again, that's an aspect of disenfranchising the representation for American citizens. Not only do they want to reduce the voter representation of their political opposition, they want to make sure that they disenfranchise the absolute necessity of the American voter. So here you are, a citizen of the United States of America, and now someone is going to be allowed to register to vote and be counted in our census, which is why you see the left not wanting to support the Save America Act. This all comes down to not just our safety and security, which, oh, by the way, if you hadn't paid attention in Virginia, there have been some incredibly recent disturbing events with criminal illegal immigrants, namely Israel Ortiz, a 19-year-old illegal immigrant who groped 9 high school female students there in Fairfax County. But that's not a big deal for Governor Spanberger and the leftists there in Virginia because he was only given, well, 135 days because they said he's already served some of that time. So basically, what they said was 180 days, so 20 days for each girl that he groped. So he'll be out pretty soon. A 19-year-old, that's an adult, groping young girls at a high school. Why is an adult here illegally walking the halls of our high schools? And oh, by the way, the youngest victim there was 13 years of age. But he'll be out in 135. Well, I guess now, since this decision came down earlier this week, 130 days. Let's give it that. This is what the left wants to do in America. This is why this whole issue of illegal immigration is so important. This is why they don't want to talk about it. Because they don't want to see the enfranchisement. They don't want to support that. They don't want to support the safety and security of American citizens. And truthfully, I see that as unconstitutional authoritarianism. That they would use their position. And remember, 12 of the states that Kamala Harris won in the 2024 election had no voter ID. So, in other words, what they're saying is that they don't respect us as a sovereign nation. They don't respect the laws of this nation. Because, I will reiterate once again, Title 18, United States Code USC 1325, unauthorized entry into the United States of America is first time misdemeanor offense, subsequent times felony. It is a federal offense to come into this country illegally. But yet, we have people that, well, they want them to be counted in the census. They want them to be able to vote. They want them to, well, expose you to their nefarious and criminal behavior. When will we stop and start to retake this narrative? Because right now, I think that's one of the most important things. Here at the American Constitutional Rights Union, it's not about, well, political parties. It's about our philosophy of governance. We believe that America, as a constitutional republic, has to honor the rule of law, has to honor the rights and freedoms of individuals, because that really is the foundation of this country. That really is what the Declaration of Independence is all about. And if we have come to a point in the United States of America where we believe that people that are here illegally are more important than people that are here as legal, law abiding citizens, and just so you realize how the left in Virginia, especially, Governor Abigail Spanberger believes that criminal illegal immigrants are more important than you. They're more so concerned about disarming. That's right, taking away the Second Amendment from legal law abiding citizens than punishing those that are here criminally and illegally. One of the things that we do at the ACRU is we support the 287G program, where our local law enforcement, especially our duly elected constitutional law enforcement officers, sheriffs, can work with ICE to make sure that we make our streets safe and secure, that we get criminal and illegal immigrants off the streets. Virginia is a sanctuary state for criminal and illegal immigrants, which in and of itself is also unlawful and unconstitutional. To say that an entire state or an entire city is going to harbor people that are here illegally. But that's the nature of what is happening in many of these leftist states. Unconstitutional authoritarianism. By the way, something else that I don't think a lot of people are talking about that the state of Virginia just signed on to as well is something called the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact, NPVIC. And what is the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact, which is now comprised of 17 states and the District of Columbia? What does it say? Is that in the state of Virginia and these other states and the District of Columbia, is that regardless of the results there within that state of who wins the presidential election, they're only going to award their electors to who wins the national popular vote. Again, a means by which you disenfranchise your voters. So in the state of Virginia, if people come out and say that, well, they're going to vote for the political opposition for president in that state, if that person that they voted for, even though they may win that state, if they're not winning the national popular vote, which the progressive socialist left believes that they have an upper hand over, even though they didn't win in 2024, that's where those electors are going to go. A complete violation of our Constitution once again. This is why we here at the American Constitutional Rights Union exist, to inform you of these things, to get you informed, educated, and activated. Because we want us to get back to understanding the blocking and tackling of this constitutional republic. And why do we have the Committee to Support and Defend? Because we are seeking to build the nation's largest constitutional conservative veterans network. Again, people that took an oath to support and defend the Constitution should continue to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So we will continue to bring these things to the forefront, because if you're to live free here in these United States of America, you cannot do such when you have unconstitutional authoritarianism that exists. And oh, by the way, don't fall for the tricks of them saying that you, believing in the Constitution, you are the authoritarians. No, what you are, you're the guardians of this great republic. God bless you all. Steadfast and loyal.